in the sump, and that's what we're going to talk about today in the second part of the sump setup video. What's up guys, Abhishek here from AV Studio, and this is part 2 of the sump setup. And in today's video, we are going to talk about the media that went into the sump and how beneficial that is going to be, and of course some media that I want to put in more into the tank, into the sump, because there's a lot of place in there. I'll show you videos of the same where you can see there's a whole lot of place in there, and as they say, no filtration is more filtration. So I'm going to put in a lot of media in there. But what I really want to talk about and what I'm really excited about is a couple of modifications that I've done in the sump, or rather a couple of exciting things that I've put in there, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about mainly in this video. And of course I am going to give you a little bit more of a sneak peek into what's the new dragon in my tank before the big reveal on the 29th of February. Okay, so shall we get started? You know, one of the biggest challenges for a hobbyist, whether it's an Arowana hobbyist or even a planted tank hobbyist, is the amount of light they put in their tanks. Yeah, of course a lot of you will disagree and say, well, oh, I don't put lights in my tank. That's good for you. I mean, you are a brave soul who does not put lights in their tanks, and you know, if your Arowana doesn't lose shine, and if the colors are still there and all of that stuff, fantastic. But I'm not such a brave soul, because you know, a lot of money goes into them, so I tend to kind of you know, stick to the standard light regime that the sellers or the farm owners tell me, and it's worked all right for me so far, and I'll probably just stick to the same script. So coming back to the point, is that when you put a lot of light, you get a lot of algae in the tank, and that's not a good thing. So what I did was, when I had my Sing Arowana, I used to have a canister filter, an Eheim Professional 4+600 canister filter, fantastic filter to have, and I brought myself an inline UV sterilizer, and I'm showing you pictures of what I got, and it's a brilliant thing. It used to work fantastic, and it was meant to be with a canister filter. It was supposed to be in the return pipe. You cut the middle of it, you cut the pipe and you connect it, and then water goes into the sterilizer, spirals in there and goes out back into the tank. So that's what it was. It was absolutely made for that purpose. Now that I went for a sump, I was worried that will it really work, because there needs to be some sort of a push of water through this UV sterilizer, and that push was being given by the canister. The sump couldn't give that. So after some deliberations and online research and all of that, we realized that we must put a pump, a submersible pump that would actually pull the water through the UV sterilizer and back into the sump, of course. So that was a good thought. However, the problem was, where would you keep the UV sterilizer? Because it's a big one and it's not meant to be submerged in water. At least that's what I know. And you have to keep it outside the sump. Now, keeping it outside the sump, and then considering the two outlets are on the two ends and facing opposite directions in the UV sterilizer, it was always going to be difficult to put both the pipes back into the sump. And so that's our first hurdle that we faced, that we didn't know how to go about putting it. Again, a bit of a research. The guys who actually came in and helped me out did a great job at that, and we looked online and we figured that one way to do it, and probably the best way to do it, was to stick it under the tank, the main tank, which would mean that it would just be above the sump, like I'm showing you in the video here. And then the pipes would actually easily go into the sump. So how did we put the pipes into the sump? So we spoke about it, that my sump has, how the sump works is there's an overflow, and then it goes into the first chamber, which is the overflow chamber, and has all the mechanical media. Then it goes into the second chamber, which has all the biological media, and then it goes to the final chamber, which is the return chamber, and then you've got a submersible pump there which pulls the water back into the tank. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So what we did is we put this submersible pump, a second one that is, which gets connected to this UV sterilizer, into the return chamber itself. So the water moves from first chamber to second to third, which is the final chamber. Some part of it goes back into the tank like a normal sump, and some part of it actually gets pulled by the other submersible pump, and it sends it back into the UV sterilizer, which is on top of the sump, and then it returns back into the second chamber, which means it comes back again a second time into the biological media chamber and gets filtered once again and goes back into the final chamber. So we put this setup up. At the face of it, theoretically, it should be great, yeah, because it's going through the biological filtration a second time, and of course another filtration, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But I'm not sure whether it would be, beneficial or not. But at least it won't be detrimental, because again, no filtration is more filtration. That's how we set up the entire UV sterilizer to ensure that we control the algae, and mind you, this one really works well. Yeah, I can leave a link down in the description section of where you can actually buy this thing. A couple of places that I know of. One is easypets.in, it's an online store, and the other one is in Uttarakhand Fisheries in Mumbai. But if you have algae issues, this is a really good one. Now coming to the second modification. So let me start by saying the second thing that I did, the second modification, I owe this to a very experienced hobbyist in these groups who posts a lot of videos, and he's got a fantastic fish himself, and that's Mridul Biswas. He gave me the suggestion of having something called a media reactor in the tank with K1 media. K1 media are round with square in there, and they're white in color, and they're around 70 mm in diameter, and they are really good for beneficial bacteria growth. And I had created a small media reactor in one of my tanks on advice of Mridul Biswas, and it worked really well for me. Of course, I faced a few challenges in setting that thing up, but I think it's a great idea to put a media reactor. And the media that we use is K1 media. Basically, you could take K1 media and put them in your canister, or just leave them as is. They would work well, but it's better to have them in a reactor wherein it's more of a moving bed of media. And that's exactly what we tried to recreate in the sump, a bigger size. So for that we needed a box, because we didn't want the media to be floating all over the place. We wanted to contain the media in a container and yet have the bed moving, the media bed moving. So we got ourselves an acrylic box with 700 holes in there. Yeah, that's 700 holes in the box. Okay, it looked like a jewelry box. The guy who made that for me said when I kept it in my shop, a lot of people came and asked me, what is that? Is that a jewelry box? What is it? They're very curious to know. But anyways, coming to the point. So we put that into the return chamber, because obviously there's a lot of space in the return chamber, and then we dumped in a lot of K1 media in there. The idea was to get the K1 media to move inside that box and bounce off each other. When they bounce off each other, they basically get rid of all the bad bacteria that's coming out of the tank and give room to new bacteria to grow, which in turn take care of the ammonia and the nitrate. If you remember the nitrogen cycle we spoke about, that's what this largely takes care of. So I'm leaving a link to that video right up here for you guys to have a look. So the idea was to get the entire media to move around so that they collide with each other and obviously form the bacteria. So what we did was we put the media in the box, and then we put in a small power head at the bottom of the box, and then once we start the power head, while the water was circulating at the bottom of the box, the media is light, so it was on top, so it wasn't moving at all, and so the moving bed wasn't working. So we thought, well, let's put a bigger power head. So we removed that and we put a bigger power head, and then we started it. Same old problem. It was moving at the bottom, but because the media was again light, it was on top, so it wasn't working. So we tried to search online and try to figure what is the right way to do the whole thing. Eventually what we thought is we will put a submersible pump, because submersible pump obviously has more flow and it will get a better throw around it. So we put in a submersible pump and used it. While some parts of the media were moving, a lot of it wasn't actually moving because the submersible pump was sucking the media towards it and it was getting stuck to the submersible pump. It still is, but we were able to kind of overcome that issue to a large extent by putting a wave maker on the other side of the box, so that would kind of move the flow a bit. So while the media is moving, it's not that it isn't moving, it's moving, but it's not to my satisfaction, or maybe it's not the most perfect media reactor. So if you guys have tried something out like this, and if you have any ideas how do we get the entire bed to move around, then please do tell me how we can go about putting the whole getting the whole media to move around. That's how we put the media reactor in place. And of course that's extra filtration. We put it in the return chamber, like I said, to get more filtration out of it. And of course in the second chamber, which is the biological media chamber, if you can see, it's quite empty because I still have to put in a lot of media in there. I didn't know how much would actually fit inside that chamber, so I got some nano taro rolls, some burnt clay rings, some renew, and some purigen. That's pretty much what I have, and I have some matrix, of course. So I am planning to get some more media in there to fill it up, to increase the overall filtration efficiency of the sump. I generally tend to buy my media from Aqua Wonders, and Pranjal Gupta is the one who sends me all of these media. He's a great guy, gives some great rates on the media, and I intend to buy some breathing rings and 3DX breathing rings and so on and so forth. Don't really know what other fancy stuff that he sells, but I intend to get some of those as well and fill in this sump. So that's that. So that's the sump setup. That's how we've set up the whole thing to create pristine water for the tank. So that was the whole sump setup, and it took me about a couple of weeks, from getting the dimensions right to putting the glass together, the chambers, getting it in, doing the plumbing, getting the water flowing, setting it up, putting in the acrylic box, and all of those things. So obviously now the sump is set up, it's running, it's cycling. So as promised in the beginning of the video, here's a sneak peek to the dragon that I got. Of course you can't see him just yet, because if you see, the tank is fully covered. It's covered with white in front, so you can take your guesses what it is. What I'm gonna do before the big reveal on 29th of February, which is a week from today, is that I'm going to reveal the farm name on my Facebook page and on my Instagram page. So if you're not following me on Instagram, I'm leaving a link below. Please do follow to get a little bit more information about what I've got inside this tank. Yep. So and also for the big reveal on 29th Feb, if you haven't subscribed already to my channel, then please do consider subscribing and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out the notification about the big reveal. And if you've liked this video, then please do hit the like button, because your likes really do matter to me. So that was the two-part sump series, and hope you like this series. That's about it for this video. Thanks for watching, and till I meet you again in the next one, peace.